Good to go. Good morning all. Good morning all. Good morning to be a Queenslander. Well, g'day. Yet another morning and yet another integrity inferno burning through this government. And I'd like Queenslanders to reflect on how regular this is becoming across how many different arms of government. We haven't gone a week in the last year without some form of crisis that is burning through the integrity of a government. They are reaching the point of becoming morally bankrupt. And today's revelation ends a saga that has gone on for far too long and cost taxpayers far too much. And in a moment I'm going to ask Dr. Rowan to probe into how this is allowed to occur and what it's meant for taxpayers. But I want to speak to every parent in the state and explain why this matters to you. When governments give up on integrity, they give up on governing for you. And when governments give up on governing with integrity, they forget about doing the basics. And what this has been is an absolute disaster that has consumed the Department of Education for the better part of 2 years. And with that has become a lack of attention to detail on the things that matter. Instead of empowering teachers to make decisions at the front line, instead what we've had is a department that has been beset by this, and we have seen the results firsthand. You only have to look at the falling figures for NAPLAN when it comes to things like literacy and numeracy. You only have to look at the fact that we are trailing other states to know that we deserve better for our kids. And the teachers are telling us that this has been a saga that has prevented them getting the resources and the respect and the ability to drive the change that they want. And parents will always come off worse for wear when governments are more interested in protecting their own than delivering services at the front line. I'm going to ask Christian to say a few words, and then Jarrod can tell us the history about it as someone who's been there from day one.
Well, thanks, David. This has been a tangled web and sordid saga that has gone on for far too long, and Queenslanders have paid the price. Hundreds of thousands of dollars have been paid to the suspended Deputy Director General of Education, who's now resigned, but there's also been hundreds of thousands of dollars paid for expensive and complex investigations undertaken by the Crime and Corruption Commission and by the Public Service Commission as well. And Queenslanders have had to foot the bill when it comes to all of those matters. Now, the Peter Coldrake report clearly identified inappropriate matters occurring between ministers and advisors and senior bureaucrats, and this whole saga typifies an example of what has been occurring under the Bleijie government with respect to serious integrity and accountability matters. And whilst this has all been occurring in the Department of Education, there hasn't been a focus on the important things for students, staff and parents. And particularly in Queensland, our NAPLAN results are terrible when we look at the results that are being achieved in other states with respect to numeracy and literacy. So this saga is coming to an end, but it's cost Queenslanders a significant amount of money, and it's very important that there be openness and transparency as to how much it has cost Queenslanders through the myriad of investigations that have been undertaken.
Thank you, Christian. Good morning, Jarrod, Bleijie, Deputy Leader of the Opposition. Well, when I received a tip-off a few years ago from an anonymous source about the potential undue influence that Jackie Trad had over the appointment of a school principal, I looked at it and I knew something was wrong. And I knew it stunk, because I knew the Bleijie government is rotten to the core. That's why I took the action I did all those years ago when I got this anonymous tip-off, knowing this government is rotten and this issue stunk. I referred it to the Crime and Corruption Commission. We then saw over 12 months an investigation ensue into Jackie Trad and the Department of Education. And what was exposed in that investigation was similar to what we're seeing in the Coldrake report now, about undue influence of ministers and staff on departments, which means nothing has changed. In 7 years, this is the culture that Anastasia has allowed to fester in Queensland. The person involved in this was Jackie Trad, yes, the Deputy Director General of the Department of Education, but the leader, the person in charge of government was Anastasia Palaszczuk this whole time. And doesn't it remind you, folks, of a more recent example of Jackie Trad getting involved in the appointment of other people, like Frankie Carroll, the Under-Treasurer, who was also subject to a CCC investigation, again, an anonymous tip-off to the opposition. And the reason whistleblowers are coming forward is they don't trust the Premier to act with integrity on these issues. So on this Frankie Carroll appointment, we got the tip-off, we referred it, as we should have, to the Crime and Corruption Commission, an investigation ensued, and what's the outcome? We don't know, because Jackie Trad is trying to hide it from the people of Queensland. Only 500 metres down the road, there's a Supreme Court action being undertaken by Jackie Trad to suppress the final report. Now, we don't know what's in the report, but I would have a guess, if you're trying to suppress it from the public, there's something in the report you don't want the public to see. And do you know what the problem is? The Queensland taxpayers are paying for this. They are paying Jackie Trad's legal expenses to hide the report that Queenslanders should know about. If Anastasia was serious about the Qld review and letting the sunshine in, well, I'd say to Anastasia, I'd call on Anastasia to let the sunshine actually in, release the Crime and Corruption Commission report into the appointment of the Under-Treasurer, tell Jackie Trad to stop the court action. And Anastasia will get up and say, I can't tell her to stop it. Well, I guess this is what the Premier can do. She can cut the funding. She can stop funding Jackie Trad's legal expenses to keep this matter in court, because taxpayers are paying hundreds of thousands of dollars to keep a matter secret that should be public. And if she doesn't, then the Qld report was for nothing.
Jarrod, do you think able to explain maybe to David or Christian how it gets to this point where someone can be suspended for 2 years and not pay?
Well, look, thank you. Good question. The question is, how has it gone on this long? How has the government allowed this to go on? Now, this is 2 years full pay suspension, which, look, we believe in natural justice. The Liberal National Party believe in natural justice. So you have to let justice take its course, and there are people that get accused of various things, and you've got to let natural justice take its course. So I've got no qualm about that. What I do have a qualm about is the fact that it's taken 2 years to get to this point, because the CCC had already completed a 12-month investigation. So we're at 3 years now. So that's a question better aimed respectfully to the Premier, and I hope the Premier gets up today at a press conference, or I hope the Education Minister gets up at a press conference today that gives you the opportunity to say to the government, why on earth has it taken your department and the Public Service Commission, I might add, which is under the Premier's reign, 2 years to investigate this matter? It should have happened far quicker, and it would have saved the taxpayers of Queensland a lot more money.
It's taken an inordinate amount of time, and we don't know why, and we don't know how much that has cost taxpayers. I think that goes to the heart of the integrity issues about the government. And if they valued taxpayers' dollars, if they valued the education of kids, this would have been prioritised, and this sordid saga should have ended a long, long time ago.
Opposition Leader, today the Auditor General got a report. I guess you could call it a report pertaining to how the government managed overfunding. Yet, no press conference from the government. Is this, again, you think this is the old dentistry?
Leaders don't pick and choose when the time is right to speak. Leadership is about speaking when Queenslanders need you, not when it's convenient for you. And the culture that is emerging is bordering on ridiculous. The Premier and indeed the government think that the only channel that matters is their social media channel. And they're attempting to airbrush history and not front up to the press and try to control every bit of information they put out. That's not how democracies work, and that's not what leadership is. Leadership is about standing up and fronting scrutiny, standing up and listening, standing up and responding. And sometimes that's not comfortable, but that's what leadership looks like. It's not about some sort of staged, managed affair that we're seeing in Queensland roll out on a daily basis. But the bad news for the government is Queenslanders are working it out. They're working it out in droves. And there's only so much propaganda you can put out through your own channels if the rotten mess that you're overseeing is being spread far and wide in other mediums. Well, eventually the tale you continue to paint gets exposed for the rubbish that it is.
Does the opposition have concerns about the way that the government handled funding during its grants and small businesses?
Peter, I haven't seen the report yet. I know it's due today. There's 2 reports today that are due. I will make this point. We'll look at it soberly and we'll obviously respond to it. And we'll be back tomorrow and we'll talk about it then, which is what we always do. We front up every day and answer questions. But you only have to look at the response that the Auditor-General has tabled across so many different portfolios to know that the government has given up on integrity, it's given up on service delivery, and it has certainly given up with treating taxpayers' dollars with any form of respect at all. And every day we see another Auditor-General report, every day we see another integrity saga, and at some stage the government has to acknowledge that the culture they are overseeing is rotten to the core. Well, front up. It's not that hard. It's not that hard to front up and answer questions. If you believe in your vision and you believe in your value set, you front up and answer questions. What we had yesterday was a rare press conference from the Premier, and in the end she ended up lecturing everybody and walking out. That's not the way that leadership should unfold. And unfortunately for the Premier, people are getting a little tired of that same old playbook. Well, there's 2 messages here. One is what happens when a government governs via paralysis via analysis. The second is what happens when a government doesn't value integrity and transparency. And in the end, that's going to cost taxpayers a bucket load of money and an education department that hasn't been focused on your kids. Neither of those are a good outcome as far as we can see. We will be. And we asked the Minister to come forward with answers, not with a list of reasons why this should be treated commercially in confidence. A list of answers, honesty, accountability, be prepared to face scrutiny. And we'd also like to see the estimates process reformed. And interestingly, since the handing down of the Qld report, we still haven't heard the Premier comment once about whether or not she believes in the things that have been outlined and the response that she will do to fix them. For example, will she reform the estimates process so it's not a protection racket for dud ministers? Will she reform commercial in confidence so that the deal at Wellcamp will become publicly available for Queenslanders? They're things that could happen immediately. Will she take action against some of her own MPs who have sought to bully and intimidate whistleblowers since the Qld report was handed down? Haven't heard the Premier say anything about that. She's only had a handful of press conferences since. She could front up and address those issues and in the process explain how this saga got to where it is. All good?
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks. Thank you. Cheers.
Cheers.